Hi everyone, this is Jazz from Micro Engineering Works, South Australia, and what I have here is a night adjustable stock for Morocco Model 10, Model 38, and Model 70. So, in this video, we will basically discuss how to set up your night adjustable stock for your gun to get a perfect gun fit. And this is, by the way, is a custom molded glove grip, which is basically the negative of your hand. So before developing night adjustable stocks, I had done a lot of reading online, and there's tons of information available in videos and on blogs um, regarding gun fit. So all the information in this video is basically collective information, which is still debatable. We welcome healthy criticism and always strive to improve. We definitely don't want to spread misinformation. So if you find anything wrong with the video, just feel free to get in touch with us and we'll fix it. We will use some 3D designs and the actual stock as well to understand how all these settings affect your point of impact and the patterns. So what we have here is a full-scale model of a night adjustable stock, and this one is for a Beretta 694 action. And what I have done here is I've modeled a non-functioning action and a set of 30-inch barrels to have a better idea of what we are doing here. Also, we have a pattern board at 20 meters from the gun. And this is a pattern from a modified choke, which makes a full circle of 26 inches diameter at 20 meters. And this number is not critical because we are going to use the center point for the reference. But all the numbers are still very, very close to the real life situations. The best and the easiest way to check your gun fit is by mounting your gun with closed eyes and checking the side picture. Now, if the side picture looks something like this or something like this, let's say that you're overlooking the bead, it means that your gun is pretty close and you can take it for pattern testing. But it is very important that you mount the gun at least 10 times with your eyes closed and then check the side picture uh, 10 times, and it should be consistent. It's not like 8 out of 10 it's like this, and for 2 times you get something like this. It means that the gun is not sitting in the same spot. It's not going to be a consistent gun fit. You might have to make adjustments. Now let's say the side picture looks like this. It just means that your gun is shooting to the left. You need to move the comb a bit to the right, and then somewhere there. You might have to do it a couple of times to get that bead perfectly in the center. So this is where we want to be before we go to the pattern board. Now, when you take your gun to the pattern board, it is very important that you look at the center of the pattern board. You just have a hard look, you mount your gun and you pull the trigger. You should not bring your gun up and then try to align the center of the pattern board with the bead or the rib or anything like that. That will give you a false result. So let's say that shooter is having a hard look at the dot in the center and mounts the gun and pulls the trigger. So our pattern is perfectly 50-50 because the yellow part basically represent our pattern. Now let's say that we want to shoot a bit higher. What we can do is we can raise the comb until we see a little bit of more rib. This is very tricky here. Just because you're seeing more rib doesn't mean that your gun is shooting higher already. As you're raising the comb, you can see the gap between the target and the bead is also increasing slightly. That means that a pattern hasn't moved. So if I turn on the pattern board again, and if this is a side picture, the pattern is still in the center. Now to get a 60-40 or any amount of higher shooting gun, what we can do is we can raise the back end of the comb ever so slightly. So basically you get different size spacers and you can put them on the two pins. Now what's going to happen is, because we have lowered the comb here, when we mount the gun, the whole assembly of the gun is going to be lifted. Let's have a look through our shooter's perspective. Now, let's say that we have made the changes and the side picture that we get now is this. We see a lot of rib and the gap between the bead and your line of sight is the same as before. Now, if we turn on a pattern board, we can see that a pattern has moved higher. If we want it even more higher, we have to do the same thing again. We can raise the whole comb, or we can try increasing the angle. Let's say that we raise the comb again a little bit, and we'll have a look through the side picture, and the gap is about the same what it was before. Now, because we have raised the comb and the gap between our line of sight and the bead is the same, we'll turn on the pattern board and we can see that the yellow pattern has gone higher. So this is about 65-35-ish. So this presentation was to prove that just because you have raised the comb and now you see more of the rib, um, doesn't mean that the gun is shooting any higher. It might be or it might not be. You'll have to take it to the pattern board and test it. Now, it is very important to not use any kind of rest or support while shooting at the pattern board if you want to check your gun fit. You should have a hard look at the center of the pattern board, mount your gun, and pull the trigger. You should not try to align the bead or the rib with the pattern board at all because it is going to give you false results. So normally you would shoot 4 shells from the top barrel and then at least 2 shells from the bottom barrel to check if there is any cant in the stock. Because if there's a cant in the stock, the top barrel will give you a pattern in the center or at least in the center line if everything is set up correctly. And due to the cant, the bottom barrel will shoot this way or that way. And as you shoot more shells on the pattern board, the size of the pattern should not increase and the pattern should not start moving to the left or to the right. If the pattern moves with every shell that you shoot, it means that your gun mount is not consistent, or you might be aiming, or you need to make changes to the gun fit. You might need adjustments at the cast. this is how you make adjustments to the pitch using these two fasteners here, and then you can make changes, lock the butt pad in place. To make changes to your cast at heel, you should first take a note of your drop at heel, because you'll have to slide the butt pad out, and then you can lock the cast in place wherever you like it using these two fasteners, and then you can slide the butt pad back in place, and you'll have the same amount of drop at heel and a new cast. Now, what happens is when you add drop at the heel, the whole assembly of the gun goes up, which basically brings the whole gun closer to the shooter's face. So you don't have to lean too far into the gun. It helps you shoot more straight up. So it basically becomes like a Monte Carlo stock when the heel is dropped down. To change the length of pull, you just have to undo this fastener here, and then you can you can unwind and wind it out. So if you have to go shorter on the length of pull, basically there is a thread on the length of pull tube. So you just have to thread it in, and you can use these graduations to keep a track of your length of pull, and you can use the graduations here on the receiver to keep a track of your canting, and you just lock it in place. It's very simple and easy to set up. Now we will see how adding a high rib to your gun makes any difference. Let us say that you have set up a gun like this, and you look at the center of the pattern board, you mount the gun, you pull the trigger, and you get this yellow pattern perfectly centered. Now, if you add a high rib and without making any other changes to the gun, you look at the same point, you mount the gun and pull the trigger again, the pattern will still fall in the same circle. But the high rib in this case will cover your line of sight. So what's actually happening is the high rib is only changing your sight picture. Now, in order to work with the new sight picture, we will have to raise the comb until we get the same sight picture that we had with the flatter rib. So we will keep raising our comb until we see something like this. And we can see we have raised the comb a fair bit now. Now, if you lock the comb here and you mount this gun with your eyes closed, when you open your eyes, this should be the side picture that you will see. Now, one big reason to have the right length of pull is to make sure that the butt pad doesn't get stuck with your shooting vest when you bring the gun up. Especially if you are a sporting shooter or a skeet shooter and you shoot gun down. Having the right length of pull, I can demonstrate using this better. So if I have, let's say this is my right length of pull, the gun comes nice and easy to my shoulder, and throughout this transition there's about half an inch gap between my shoulder, my shooting vest, and the butt pad. Now I will add half an inch here, half an inch here, and I can already feel that I have to go out and in. So that's one big reason to have the right length of pull. So if you are a gun down shooter, you can benefit the most from the right length of pull. So another big reason to have the right length of pull is center of mass. So the closer it is to your body, the center of mass of an object, the easier it is to move that object or control it. So in this case, let's assume this is your gun and you're holding it here, and this is your right length of pull. Now try to hold the same amount of weight 2 inches away from your body, and you can feel immediately that more muscles are engaging on the back of your shoulder and your arm to hold the weight, but the weight hasn't changed. Just because it's away from your body means that the center of mass is going away, means your body has to do more work. And if we bring the same amount of mass to closer to your body, it's easier. Now, you might have heard that guns with shorter barrels, they are quicker and they're easy to move. They might not be lighter, they might still have the same weight, but they are easy to control because the center of mass is closer to your body. And that is why length of pull is such an important setting. Now what we've done is, we've basically raised the gun to come closer to our face. So if it is all the way down, rather than you getting into the gun like that, the gun now comes to you.